Great. Well, thank you all. I'm James Poviwa, and I am the chair of the Sustainable Economy Advisory Council. And I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting to order. And I'm going to go ahead and go through our roll call for council members. So I am present. Daisy is
Present.
right there. Patricia.
Present.
Glenn Schiffbauer.
Present.
Thank you. Rob Black. Cassie Arias. Jonathan Perry.
Present.
Thank you. Mayani Barudin.
Present.
Thank you. Atsa Chavez. Wendy Adsri is not able to make it today.
Present.
Oh, hello. Janine Yazzie. Joe Little. Marissa Naranjo. Wendy, I don't think is able to join us today. Six.
Nope, sorry, yeah.
Well, should we continue or what should we do?
How many do you need? 7.
7.
Is Daisy and her team, did they make it in person?
Daisy is here, yes.
Awesome. Okay.
Marissa's here, but she said she's as a participant rather than a panelist.
Oh,
sure.
let's see. Here we go. Sorry about that, Marissa. There we go. Who else? Okay, great. And then I see, yeah. Okay, well, it's just
Great.
Marissa, but
All right, well, thank you. Today we're really excited to be hosted here at the Arrowhead Center at NMSU. And we're gonna go ahead and approve our agenda for the day. Also review minutes from February and March. And then the rest of the agenda, which was sent out and is posted online, is a welcome from NMSU and our colleagues here at the Arrowhead Center and other parts of NMSU. And then we will also be discussing the statewide strategic plan. So could I have a motion to approve the agenda?
let's get it up on the screen.
And we're putting it up on the screen too.
Motion.
Thank you. In a second.
Second.
Excellent. All in favor? Aye.
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 Hey.
And
Okay, great.
we can move on to approving minutes.
Yep.
Thank you. If we could go ahead and put up minutes on the
It's February 27th and March 26th. This is February 27th. Oh, Patricia has her hand raised.
So-
I just heard from Lara that she was on webinar format, just the other speaker, but I'm gonna assume that that's okay, that you've got it handled.
Right, she might be in the waiting room.
Oh, I see.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry,
Oh,
James.
not at all.
Okay, we'll get that in a second. Okay, here's February 27th.
So give folks a moment to review, and we also did send these out, I believe.
They're on the website. Go.
Great, thank you. Can I have a motion to approve these minutes from February?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Daisy seconds, thank you. All in favor, aye.
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 March.
Okay,
Thank you.
there you go. There you go.
Folks need a little bit more time, or if not, can I get a motion to approve these minutes?
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor, aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all. Now I just would like to, I'm very thrilled to turn it over to the director of New Mexico State University's Arrowhead Center. And I believe Wayne is with us today.
And I think, Patricia, you wanted to give a welcome first?
Thank you. You're on mute.
Yeah, hi. Hi, welcome to all of you to the Arrowhead Center. And I hope those who went on the tour had a great time. You got a really smart tour guide there, Dr. Prihadko. And you're in very good hands with Wayne Savage and the Arrowhead staff, and I wish I was there in person. We are the state land grant institution's outreach, economic development, and business entrepreneurship arm, and very proud of the work that many do at Arrowhead to make that happen. I hope you get a great feel for our southern state and the campus, and look forward to seeing you guys again at a Borderplex meeting next.
Thank you, Patricia. So we have here at New Mexico State University, Arrowhead Center takes two forms. We have the university entity that delivers all of our programming for entrepreneurs and startup businesses. And we do that to students, for students, not to them, but for students on every 2- and 4-year campus across the state, every one, as well as UTEP and El Paso Community College. And we may expand beyond that someday, we'll see. So it's a very, it's a program with very broad impact statewide and regionally. We also focus a lot of our efforts on startup businesses and entrepreneurs. There's a myriad of training programs that are standard across all industry sectors, all business types. And then we have some very specialized programs if you're in the energy sector or if you're in the health sector or when we run special accelerator programs, even for small communities across the state. We did one last year for San Miguel, just down the road. We did one in Grants last year. So the programming offering through NMSU is very broad. Patricia and I actually serve a function for the Arrowhead Center Inc. nonprofit. She's primarily responsible for the intellectual property for the university, the licensing, the patenting, and some of the commercialization efforts around NMSU's IP. My role within the nonprofit is the development and the operations of our research department. So just across the arroyo out here, we have 200 acres that sits right between I-10 and I-25. And that's what we call Arrowhead Park. And out there right now, in that 200 acres, we're about 30% developed. We have the first construction took place in the year 2000. And then it was another 9 years before anything else happened. We had several buildings built, 2009, 2010, 2011. We currently, and then the next tranche came in 2016. And then we currently have a new building in construction right now. But we have 3 privately owned multi-tenant buildings. So a variety of different tenants, both private and public out there. We have the Las Cruces School District, Early College High School, which serves all of Las Cruces, has 625 students there every day. It was the first early college high school in the state of New Mexico, kind of set the model for that growth. We have the Burrell College of Osteopathic Medicine. It is not an NMSU school of medicine, it is a separate private entity. But we have a range of agreements between the two schools. And their students pay student fees at NMSU. And so they get to take advantage of student housing, they take advantage of student meal plans, benefits plans, extracurricular things. So that's a great thing. They are doing exceedingly well. And since they started here, they've also the same ownership.
One second, Wayne. I guess you're
Come a
having
little
some
bit
hard
closer.
time hearing.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Totally fine.
Since they began their operations here in 2016, They have also, the same ownership group has also opened the Idaho College of Osteopathic Medicine. And this fall, they're opening up in Florida along the Space Coast. They're really focused on space medicine, which is exciting for us here. And then our current construction is a new creative media technology building for our two-year school. And that will open in the fall. So we have plans for many more things, but the basic purpose of the park is to be an economic hub for the region. As you know, we have distinct and pervasive and long-lasting troubles with poverty in our county and across our state. And so our goal through a lot of our entrepreneurial programs, our goal in the research park is to create new businesses that can bring the wages up and bring up wealth in our community. And then to see them grow out in the research park at some point, or to also attract quality businesses to come partner with NMSU out there so that we can hopefully have an impact on that poverty metric for our state. What I'd like to do, Patricia's asked me to show a little video about the park. And I can do it directly from here if you want me to share a screen, or we can call it up on your browser.
Maybe let's try on this
Sure,
one.
sure. So just pick a browser
Okay.
and go to arrowheadcenter.nmsu.edu. And then if you'll go to the programs tab, second one should be park. Yes. And it's slow to load. If you scroll down just a bit, you should end up with a video block here.
Wonder if it's not gonna let us.
Hmm.
It's a little funky right now.
Yeah, the site's not loading from there.
Yeah. Well, maybe I should post it in the chat for people. And that way
If
they
you want
can-
to try it, just allow me to share.
Okay.
If you can share, then
Yep.
I can.
Okay. So on there, you should be Arrowhead Center. Is that right?
Yes.
Is that what you're logged in as?
Yes.
So you're gonna have to turn on your sound.
That didn't happen, sorry.
Sound like the PowerPoint. So.
Perhaps you could share the link with them then.
Well, absolutely. Yeah.
But, well, we will definitely share that with the council members so they can try viewing it if it wasn't coming through. And are we? Okay.
Tech is always an issue. And I think we can, again, thank you for hosting us. And I think our next presenter is from the New Mexico Biosciences Authority, Stephanie, and I do not want to get your name incorrect, so I will let you introduce yourself. Thank you for joining us.
Of course, thank you so much for inviting me. So my name is Stephanie Tofigi, and I am the Executive Director of the New Mexico Bioscience Authority. I looked you guys up. I'm so thrilled that Patricia thought to invite me, but I was shocked to see that I didn't recognize many of you. So my overview of the Bioscience Authority is meant to be an introduction to you. If you've heard it before, if Wayne has been whispering in your ear, or Patricia, since I know that they both know the authority very well, please excuse that, but I hope that it will give you an opportunity to see what the Bioscience Authority is and what we're doing to help support the state and its economy. So I do have some slides. If I could share them, that would be wonderful. Right now it's saying host disabled, participant screen share. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So I'm just going to, I don't have any videos or anything, so I think I'm just going to stick with the Adobe to keep it easy. So this is just an overview of who we are. So first, I just wanted to point out to you that we are a public-private partnership. The reason that the Bioscience Authority was created was to help build a stronger bioscience industry through that public-private partnership. We're administratively attached to the University of New Mexico. I will explain that a little bit later, but we have representatives on our board from all of the research universities, and we have strong partnerships with Los Alamos National Lab, with Sandia National Lab, as well as private industry, along with the Economic Development Department and the Spaceport America. And so the University National Lab and public sector pieces, they contribute the scientific and technical expertise that a lot of times entrepreneurs will need. With that, they help to minimize the technical risk, the market risk, and the evolving nature of the market. It supports existing businesses through workforce development. And one of its obligations is to prioritize the support for members of traditionally underrepresented minority groups. The public sector, which is more on the business side, prioritizes economic growth and job creation. It supports positive societal impact and community development. And with that community dynamics, it supports economic growth. So really fast, what is biosciences? We are a huge array of, a lot of different disciplines. In short, it includes businesses that apply knowledge of and how living organisms function to improve the quality of life for humans, animals, plants, and the environment. So we had an opportunity to have the Dean of the College of Agriculture from New Mexico State come and talk to our board, and he, said it perfectly. He said, "We are life sciences." And so, anything that relates to those life sciences is included. But to summarize it a little bit, we've blocked it into 5 separate industries: agricultural, feedstock, and chemicals, which includes biotech and biofuels, bioscience-related distribution, drugs and pharmaceuticals, medical devices, as well as the research, development, testing, and medical laboratories. Our mission as the New Mexico Bioscience Authority is to increase the awareness and support for New Mexico's bioscience sector. Our vision is to grow a robust bioscience industry throughout the state. A little bit of our history, just in case this is the first time you've ever heard of us. We were created back in 2017 through state legislature. Senate Bill 478 was passed to develop the Bioscience Development Act, which did create us as an administratively attached department of the University of New Mexico. That again is this public-private partnership that is meant to work as a state agency. It was created because of a public-private working group that developed the Grow Bio report. And it was just able to see that of all of the industries that are throughout New Mexico, biosciences has got a really great opportunity to help develop a robust economy throughout the state that's not reliant on oil and gas and travel and tourism. So a way to help diversify the economy there. The organization of the Bioscience Authority is pretty simple. We are administratively attached to UNM. We get funding from RPSP through the state legislature that goes to UNM, and then we are able to use it to be able to do the programming activities and co-investment decisions. That administrative attachment helps to reduce the costs of HR, finance, legal support, and all of those different pieces. But like I said, our 13-member board does include representatives from all over the state, including UNM, NMSU, New Mexico Tech, the Economic Development Department, Spaceport Authority, and then we have 4 members that are appointed by the legislature and 2 that are appointed by the governor to represent the private industry. This is our board right now. We have 2 representatives from New Mexico State, Tanner Schaub and Dana Catron. And this is our staff. So right now we do have a fuller staff, which is fantastic to help us to be able to do the work that we're working on doing. We have 4 current initiatives. We have the Community Readiness Program, the Bioscience Business Support Program, as opposed to an accelerator like what Wayne was just describing for New Mexico State, a rural biotech ecosystem, and our co-investment program. Our Community Readiness Program is meant to help municipalities and organizations attract bioscience businesses to their locations. We have a rating system that organizations are able to use, like Wayne was able to use it to help identify 5 sites that are at the Arrowhead Research Park that are ready to accept bioscience companies. And so they range from ratings of bronze up to platinum, depending on how ready the community is based on the criteria that has been identified that bioscience companies need to be able to grow. We have certified sites in Albuquerque, Rio Rancho, Santa Fe, and Las Cruces. Las Lunas, Santa Ana, Pueblo, and Clovis are working on their certification process right now. Albuquerque has 8 certified sites, Rio Rancho has 1. Santa Fe has 2, Arrowhead Center has 5, and Las Cruces City has another 1. And then we're working on developing relationships with other sites, specifically related to rural communities through our rural biotech ecosystem. So I did see that there are a lot of members on this council that are from rural communities. So if you want to talk to me about community readiness programs, I would love to talk to you. One of the, like I said, one of the programs that we're working on developing is a bioscience business support program. And so it's not an accelerator yet, just because we don't have the, the programming, the coursework for it. And so instead, we are helping companies as we can. These are some of the companies that we've been able to support so far. We can help in grant writing and submission support, mentoring, workshops, and network facilitation. It's really a way for us to be able to use who we're connected with and the resources that are throughout the state to be able to connect researchers and entrepreneurs to support their development. Most recently, we were able to include in our staff Anne Lore, who goes by the nickname of Anne-Lo Schmidt-Olivier. She's an intellectual property specialist that recently moved here with her husband from Florida. And she's been able to support the development of bioscience companies, specifically related to their IP and drafting of documents and things like that. We're also working on developing the rural New Mexico biotech ecosystem. And so this is a program that has been in the works for a few months now. One of our biggest opportunities is to develop an eco map. And it's funny because right when we said that, that was exactly when the Economic Development Department was working on developing theirs throughout the state. And we know that we've worked with Shawnee Harvey to be able to work in coordination with each other and not apart from each other. So the difference, main difference between our map and the Economic Development Department's map, the Economic Development Department is very vast. It includes all of the support for the industries throughout the state. Ours is very specifically to biosciences. And so we're working on those final pieces, but we're planning on launching it within the next week. So it's going to be able to be a home for all of the organizations, resources, people, events, jobs, internships, and everything else that we can store onto there. We recently hired an intern that's going to be helping us to really create a usable platform, including guides to be able to help users to come onto the platform to really be able to answer the questions that they're trying to get at, instead of having to rely on their personal connections or where they are in the state. And so one of the reasons that we developed this is to really be able to create a much more robust application for everyone, regardless of who they are, where they are, and who they know. This is a snapshot of the front page of it right now. Off to the side, you can see the panel of different sections that are included on there. Workforce development is also on there, but I don't have a more recent shot just because it is in the pre-launch phase right now. But that will be there. Our co-investment program is something, one of the reasons that we were created as a public-private partnership was so that we could invest private funding with public funding in New Mexico-based bioscience companies. Our co-investment program has been maturing based on input that we've received from legal entities, from stakeholders throughout the state, but the notion of it has pretty much stayed consistent. So the New Mexico Bioscience Authority would be able to put in $1 from state funding, matched by a $2 match by private investors that would then be able to be invested in New Mexico-based bioscience companies. We have some criteria that needs to be followed for those bioscience companies. One of them to make sure that there's no conflict of interest with anyone on the Bioscience Authority board, but also to make sure that the majority of their work is happening inside the state and that they have a plan or they're already hiring a certain number of employees to be able to work there. For the match, we're working on bringing in external investment organizations that are not necessarily New Mexico based, just to make sure that we're bringing in more funding into the state and not just reusing the funding that is in the state. That is a program that is still on the process of being developed. We have done a pilot stage of the program, but we're still working on getting that bigger state funding to be able to go forward with that. But it would be, it would provide broad impact and it would be self-sustaining. When you're investing in a company, you do have the chance to be able to, for the company to go belly up and for you to lose a lot of your funding, but then you also have the opportunity to be able to get a large investment coming back. That large investment coming back would go back into the investment fund to then be reinvested in additional companies going forward. So our plans moving forward, because like I said, right now we do not have the state funding to be able to continue that, but instead we're working with private investment firms to help them identify, vet, and recommend bioscience companies throughout the state for investment. And we're working on better marketing of bioscience companies to in-state and out-of-state investment organizations. One way that we're working on doing that is through the Bio Convention, that it happens annually. We're able to see, the companies that are here in New Mexico and to be able to better present them to investment companies as a way of helping to market them. One of the ways that we're doing that this year is we've created a map of New Mexico-based bioscience companies. This map is still evolving. And so if you do not see a company on there that you think, hey, needs to be there, please let me know. Please send me any information and I will get it on. One of the biggest criteria that we have to have is that there needs to be some kind of product to be able to sell, license, or purchase, whether that be a product or a service, depending on what the company is. But these are the ones that have gotten on there so far. This year, we're also applying for a grant from the National Science Foundation. It's their Experiential Learning for Emerging and Novel Technologies, or their Excellent program. We're going to be working with pre-med undergrads to be able to create internships for them in biotech, engineering, and relevant manufacturing industries to better expand their career opportunities and research focus. And Wayne, when you mentioned that that Brunel is working on space medicine, I'm very interested in that. So I would really love to talk to you offline about that, just because one of our board members, Christos Christodoulou, is also really invested in the aerospace industry throughout the state of New Mexico. And he had a very great suggestion of working with aerospace companies to also create internship opportunities for those students, for the pre-med students to be able to get experience working in the aerospace field as well, because space medicine is definitely going to be a hot topic, and anything related to space exploration is going to need life sciences that are customized. So we're really excited about that opportunity. Does anyone have any questions? Or should I just wait on that until afterwards?
Yeah. So thank you so much, Stephanie. Greatly appreciate it. And we are going to section this and hold questions until after the next presentation. All right, thank you. And I want to invite Dr. Laura, who I apologize, I'm also not going to attempt to, I don't want to mispronounce your last name, with NMSU's Agriculture Experiment Stations. We were so lucky to have a tour with her and several of her colleagues today. And let me turn it over to you.
Thank you. I just wanted to say real quick, I also need permission to share my screen. And while that's happening, I just wanted to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to take everybody on a or those who could make it on the tour today. It touched on a couple of the areas that I'll be talking to you about, and I know I will try to go quickly. Perfect. Okay, I think. Oh, everything disappears on me. All right, can you all see my screen? Okay, all right, great. So, yes, my name is Lara Prohodko. I'm the Associate Director of the Agricultural Experiment Station here at New Mexico State University. The Ag Experiment Station is part of the College of ACES. The College of ACES, Agricultural, Consumer, and Environmental Sciences, is the agricultural college of New Mexico State University. As a land-grant college, we serve New Mexicans and the state of New Mexico, offering programs in agriculture. It's a big area for us, but we also do other things such as family and consumer sciences, wildlife and natural resource conservation and management. We have an agricultural economics department, and we also have a program on hotel, restaurant, and tourism management. And on the right of the screen, you can see these are the pillars for economic and community development that most of the work that we do in our college fall within. So those are food and fiber production and marketing, water use and conservation, family development and health of New Mexicans, and environmental stewardship. The Agricultural Experiment Station, as part of the College of ACES, is the principal research unit of the college. So any faculty member who has a research appointment in our college, that is through the Agricultural Experiment Station, both here on campus, but also across the 12 agricultural science centers that we have scattered throughout the state. We're a core unit that is really integral and an important part of the land-grant mission of the university. And every land-grant university across the country has an agricultural experiment station that operates in a similar way to us. We work very closely with our cooperative extension service, which are the third part of the tripartite mission of a land-grant university, which is research, education, academics, and extension. And so we work very closely with our extension colleagues, both on campus and throughout the state, to deliver information on the research that we conduct at the universities out into the communities to make sure that it gets widespread and people hear about it. The main mission for the Ag Experiment Station is to conduct fundamental and applied science and technology research. And it really crosses a very wide spectrum of things, from economic, social, and cultural aspects of agriculture, natural resource management, and family issues. As I mentioned, we are the research arm of the college. Often people say, you know, well, where do you work? But the Agricultural Experiment Station is not a place. It's really that combination of all of the scientists and the research that goes on within the universities, as well as at our 12 agricultural science centers across the state. And in this slide, you can see the areas that are tan. Those are counties where we have an agricultural experiment station. For those of you on the tour I was mentioning today, I tend to go through them geographically because part of my training is in geography. But we really span a wide set of climatic zones and types of agricultural communities across the state. So we address those needs of the particular regions of the state. The kind of research that we do is designed to enhance agricultural profitability, stimulate economic development, improve the quality, safety, and reliability of food and fiber products. Also, we hope to do it in a sustainable way, which I'll talk about in a minute. And as I mentioned, we also work carefully to manage and protect natural resources because as you can imagine, those natural resources are also very integral for agriculture. And hopefully the work that we do improves the quality of life for the people of New Mexico. On the right-hand side are the variety of departments that we have in our college, and also the names of the agricultural science centers. This next slide is just to give you that idea of how the College of ACES is really spread throughout the state of New Mexico. I showed you already the map with the agricultural science centers, but we have extension offices in every county throughout the state. And we also have community colleges and tribal extension offices and a variety of other different offices throughout the state of New Mexico, so that we are able to work with our stakeholders more effectively. So as I mentioned, we work, a lot of our work focuses on sustainable agriculture. And what we mean by sustainable agriculture is that those are agricultural production practices that meet today's needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet theirs, all while protecting the environment. So on this slide, you see a list of just some of the areas that we conduct research in. I'm going to highlight a few for you in the next 3 slides. Those are in italics. So we'll talk about digital agriculture, renewable energy in agriculture, and soil health and carbon management. But we also work in value-added agriculture, a lot of work in agricultural water efficiency. We learned, the people who were the committee members who were able to come on the tour today learned about some of that, which including irrigation technology and breeding for drought tolerance. But we also work with one of our science centers, pipes in treated wastewater. So we're looking at alternative water sources for agriculture, alternative crops, and different strategies to conserve water. We did hear a little bit about that today too with the cover crop and biochar work. We also work in reforestation and controlled environment agriculture, and as I said, a lot more. I just wanted to draw your attention to the picture on the bottom right of the slide here. This is our Corona Rangeland Research Center up in the center of the state, where we have 39 operational wind turbines. And so at that science center, we're looking at that integration of wind energy in a working ranch environment. And then 3 more slides, just highlighting some of the work that we're doing. And although, as I say, we're doing a lot more than this, but in digital agriculture, we talked a little bit about it today in terms of some of the work that Dr. Shukla was doing for conveying real-time information on soil moisture and irrigation. But we work in 2 different kinds of digital agriculture. We work with precision farming. So we do a lot of that work at our Leyendecker Science Center that we were at today, working with robotics, working with drones, smart irrigation, different Internet of Things monitoring systems. But we also do a lot of work with precision livestock management. So we have work where we have GPS collars on livestock and we're able to track them. But some of those collars also allow us to use something called virtual fencing to move livestock around different parts of rangeland so that we can move them so that either, keeping them away or allowing them access to things, or also just managing grazing patterns so that we're able to maintain the right amount of vegetation cover on those rangeland surfaces.
Laura, you might have ended up on mute.
Oh, Laura, I think we're having a hard time hearing you. Ooh. She may have accidentally been
shoot.
booted off.
Oh, you're back.
Yes, I don't think my slides are back. I don't know what just happened. It just popped out. But let's see. Are we good again? You all just disappeared.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay, all right. I don't think you missed anything because I saw everything disappear. Okay, so agrivoltaics, we saw a little bit of this work today as well. Agrivoltaics, for those of you who weren't out in the field with us, is the pairing of solar photovoltaic technologies and agriculture on the same land for shared benefits. So it must combine energy generation with agricultural production, but that can take on a wide variety of looks. Could be in rangeland, could be in cropping systems, could be to power greenhouses. We have an existing project that we saw today at our Leyendecker Science Center, but we're also building new agrivoltaic infrastructure across the state that was supported through a congressionally directed spending request. So we're very thankful to our senators, Lujan and Heinrich, for that. So we'll be installing agrivoltaics up in Farmington at the Leyendecker Science Center and also at the College Ranch so that we can look at that integration of renewable energy with farming and rangeland systems. And we're also working on that project with the USDA Agricultural Research Service here in Las Cruces, both with the Cotton Gin Lab and also with the Jornada Experimental Range. And we have a new faculty position that we're in the process of, we're getting there, of hiring, who will be also joining in on this work that we're setting up for them on integrated renewable energy and agriculture. So the last initiative that I'll talk about today is our Soil Health and Carbon Management Initiative. And in this initiative, it's a statewide initiative. It's really spearheaded out of our Clovis Agricultural Science Center, but many of the activities take place across the state. You heard about some of the work if you were on the field trip today at the Leyendecker Science Center, but we're also doing work across many of our science centers. We're looking at a variety of things, trying to establish a baseline of carbon sequestration across agricultural and managed landscapes in the state of New Mexico. And that also includes irrigated turf. So we have some scientists here who work on like turf systems, for example, for golf courses, as well as for rangelands. It also involves demonstrating soil health and carbon sequestration practices, including some of the ones you heard about today, to show our agricultural producers what they might be able to do to both improve the soil health and the carbon sequestration potential of their landscapes. Part of that project is also conducting carbon literacy outreach activities. We had a statewide conference last year, and we'll have another one this summer, and we also include student engagement in that. And so that's kind of a broad brush. I know you have a meeting ahead of you, but just wanted to give you a taste of what we do. And this is contact information for myself, and we have an interim director. His name is Dr. Jay Lillywhite. So that is it.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Krihobko. Appreciate that presentation and the tour from earlier today. I also wanted to acknowledge that Director Dominguez with the New Mexico Department of Agriculture is here. Thank you for joining us. And I want to turn it over to Kayla to really talk about this new model that we're moving towards around our format for meetings and how we're reviewing the state plan. And I also just appreciate Michael, Kayla, and other folks' work to get us to this format.
Awesome. Well, you guys are gonna have from me an email laying out how we're going to be moving forward with regards to your input on the state plan. But what I will do initially, I'm just gonna put these, I'll share my screen and I will put up on my screen the questions that that we have sent around to give you prompts and maybe stimulate some thoughts on these topics. And so I wonder if there's a way to do full screen. I don't know. We'll just put it there. I think you can maybe see it. So these are just guiding questions, but you'll see that we circulated some briefing binders pertaining to the target sectors from the state plan that we're going to be discussing today. And as you know, you guys voted on this format, so you know, it's always open to change if it doesn't work for you, but we're going to try it out. We are moving through the target sectors in the state plan. And for everyone who's joining us today, those include today biosciences and agriculture. So that's why we are here. And we of course had some great tours. And thanks to the folks from NMSU who were willing to do so. And like James said, we also have some folks joining the call both in person and online from the Department of Agriculture to help answer any questions that you might have. But the way that this will work is that we are sending you briefing binders on each target sector. And let me know, it says my internet connection is unstable, so say something in the chat if you're not hearing me well. But we're sending you briefing binders on each target sector, which is essentially just excerpts from the plan wherever the target sector is mentioned. And then there are also going to be recommendations corresponding with each target sector. So when you look into your briefing binders, you'll see information from past versions of the state plan. And that doesn't mean that we have to move forward in the same direction. I think the whole point is you can see what's been recommended thus far by the entities that had compiled the plans in previous instances. And then you can think about the needs and priorities that we've been working within this advisory council and figure out what you want your contributions to be. And so these questions are structured along those lines. And it's all meant to say that, you know, the first, you can see on my screen share that the first section of these prompt questions, let's see if I can zoom. There we go.
And I know,
yeah.
Also Kayla, that in the future, the binders will come out
Yeah.
sooner,
Yes.
so we have more time to
Exactly.
review.
Yeah, and so thanks for your patience with us as we get rolling here. But you know, I think we had some good introductory remarks on the target sectors that we're focusing on today. And please don't feel time constrained in terms of voicing all of your inputs during this meeting, for example. You can let this prompt some thoughts for you and write to us later with additional feedback. You can say what's on your mind during the meeting. You can prompt us to look into research questions that you have about these target sectors and let us know that you want us to look into something when it comes to a target sector in the state plan. So this is all just meant to start the conversation, but with the goal of we are using these target sectors as a way to structure our meetings. And at the same time, we recognize that you might have other priorities in mind. So in keeping with that, we have a cluster of questions about what you would like to guide the conversation towards, which includes priorities and themes that you might be experiencing in your work and or your home community. and themes that you want to touch on throughout this process, outcomes that you desire from the process. And I'll remind you all, I know you know this from past meetings, but we're doing this in-house for the first time at the Economic Development Department. And so whatever you send to me or say to me in an email, or if you'd like another meeting with us, that's direct input that I can consider in the drafting of the state plan, which of course will be iterative. Another theme that I wanted to raise was that we can let the location of the meeting or the host community sort of guide some of the themes that we talk about. So we're trying to select locations that are relevant to the target sectors we're discussing. So if you're ever hosting a meeting in your area, please feel free to make that an opportunity to talk about what feels most pressing to you. Yeah.
Maybe some questions in the chat.
Oh, let's see. Oh. I think that's just one. Yeah, so and we just got a question about for the NMSU speakers. So anyone who has to head out, we totally understand.
Yeah.
Feel free to do so, but we would love to have you here if these target sectors relate to your area of expertise. And then the final thing is public input. And as you all know, the legislation that created the Sustainable Economy Advisory Council and Task Force allows us to consider relevant studies from universities and other entities in terms of supporting research. So please, as the public, for whoever's joining, feel free to send us your inputs. But with that in mind, and based on the presentations that you've seen, maybe we can move towards hearing some comments and thoughts from our advisory council about the target sectors. I can give a brief overview of some of the things that are in the briefing binders, and you should have these questions in an email from me. So I think I'll stop sharing my screen. And James, how does that sound to shift over to?
That sounds great.
Yeah.
And then also just if anybody, council members have questions right now about this process, if not, we can jump into discussion of biosciences or sustainable and value-added agriculture.
Yeah, so do we have any questions?
I have actually a question for, oh, Glenn, go for it.
Yeah, I don't really have a question. I just wanted to comment that getting the briefing binders is fantastic. You know, having, especially now that we are becoming more strategic plan oriented with the industries and the sectors that we have been, you know, tasked with looking into. I found it really helpful to, you know, go through the plan again because I don't read it every month anymore. So that helped a lot, and it really helped to inform the guiding question and the input that you just had on the screen. So thank you for doing that.
Feedback. I did have a question for Stephanie. If you're still available, you mentioned the New Mexico Bioscience Authority does have a state plan for biosciences. I was wondering how, or if you've had a conversation with the Economic Development Department of how these two plans hopefully complement each other.
So can you say that one more time? So I know, so we follow the state plan. I mean, we don't have our own plan. We were created by the state legislation back in 2017, kind of identifying the 9 strategic industries to help diversify the economy. So we're kind of pre that, but we still follow your guys' strategic plan.
Okay. Thank you. That's helpful.
Do we have any other questions? Do we have anyone from the advisory council with questions about this process? Hi,
Patricia.
Patricia. Well,
We can hear
we
you.
don't, I don't think we hear you. Nothing yet.
Odd.
Do you want to type it in the chat? Oh, there we go.
What is it?
Okay, is the intent of the questions for us to share on the meeting with the task force or overall to support your plan? So yeah, so the intent of the questions is just to prompt whatever your concerns and priorities are. So of course we have the target sectors, but you may be thinking about things that aren't mentioned in the plan, whether it's within a particular target sector that we already have in the plan, or whether you want to highlight other areas that are important to you in your professional lives and communities. And so I tried to make the questions as comprehensive as possible. And James and I looked over these together just to make sure that anything you might want to talk about, you can definitely cover. So, and to encourage the public to participate as well. And as you know, we have 2 working groups right now on tribal engagement and community engagement. But more broadly, any members who want to encourage colleagues or community members to chime in and participate in this process, please definitely feel free to do so. And I will definitely be sharing any inputs that you all have with the task force as well.
Great. Do you want to maybe go over the binders in a little overview?
Yes. Well, maybe verbally we can just, you'll have those in front of you, and I definitely encourage you to let this be a continuous conversation and get back to me with any other inputs that you might have. But for the time being, you know, there's a sustainable agriculture binder and a biosciences binder, and we've sort of included some of the front matter about how these target sectors were approached by the folks who compiled the plan. So there's something for each sector on strengths and weaknesses perceived by the authors of the plan for each sector, and then opportunities, threats. So it's basically, you might have heard of a SWOT analysis before. It's how they approached this, but there are other ways to think about it. So it's just a starting point. These are just the excerpts from the plan itself for you to take a look at them in one place. And then in the biosciences binder, same deal. It just shows a little bit about how the target industry looks in New Mexico. And of course, you heard more in depth from Stephanie. So thanks again for being here, everyone from NMSU, and helping us to understand these target sectors. At the bottom of each briefing binder, you'll find the recommendations from past versions of the state plan, which I think is maybe the best place to see where these documents were headed. And in January, of course, we compiled some updates on the status of these recommendations. I won't have those off the top of my head because there are hundreds, but if you have a question about a particular recommendation, you can feel free to flag it for me. If you think that a recommendation should be amended, you can definitely feel free to flag that for me, or if you want to add new recommendations, you can make suggestions that we can certainly consider. And so I think if you haven't read these all in detail, maybe the recommendation section is a good, concise place to look over. It's really brief. These are just a couple of sentences each, and it can help you to familiarize yourself with what's being suggested in the state plan. So for example, I made a little list here within agriculture. There's a recommendation, for example, to launch a cannabis business office for recreational and medical marijuana. There is a recommendation to attract tech conferences on agriculture and water. Within biosciences, there was a recommendation to create industry representatives within the economic development department. And I believe we now have biosciences covered under our science and tech office more broadly. And then there's a recommendation about laboratories and maker spaces, another one about industry conferences. And then there is the inclusion of a recommendation on, quote, the circular clean fuel economy within this section as well. And so, you know, it makes sense in a lot of ways to discuss agriculture and biosciences in the same breath, because I think there are a lot of related topics underneath these umbrellas. And it definitely, yeah, and we can send, those are just, so if you have the 2023 state plan, the binders are basically our compilation of all the places in the plan where a particular sector appears. So maybe if someone could just quickly link that in the chat, that would be really helpful. And I can send you guys the binder a little bit later. But so these, you know, in terms of agriculture and I guess biosciences, these touch on a lot of environmental and economic issues that are important to sustainable economy. So that includes soil health, land use, watershed management and conservation, and some energy topics, because, you know, biofuels, I guess, are related to these topics of agriculture and biosciences. And there's a strong relationship between, as all of you know, between our climate, between food, water, and energy. And so, yeah, I would love to just open it up to our advisory council at this point, and hear whether any of you have inputs on biosciences or agriculture based on your experiences. And I'll just highlight that from my understanding of our past meetings, I've seen a lot of discussion about food sovereignty. And so, for example, feel free to raise how you think sustainable agriculture should look at the community level from your perspective. And I'll check in the chat right now while we open it up.
We're a small group in here too, so I invite folks in the room to also feel free to jump in, or if you have any comments or thoughts.
Well, this is Daisy speaking.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Well, my question is, so we have the binder. I mean, obviously we have the state plan, but I'm kind of curious just about the task force and like, are they moving on any actions? Are there any actions that they're looking at in terms of a priority that we can then advise on? I think that, you know.
Yeah, we have the chair of the task force right here. So,
Okay, well,
yeah, I think it's a good question.
You know, just thinking about, you know, yeah, how we can advise and think about the strategic plan as a whole.
Okay, just to make sure everybody heard that, Daisy was asking about whether the task force, the Sustainable Economy Task Force, is working on any action items. And so the idea is that with these inputs into the target sectors and otherwise, your comments will serve an advisory function. And so it's more like articulating what's important to you. You know, past plans have had a sort of a list of target sectors that I guess those were what came up in drafting, but I think this is an opportunity for more direct input from you guys essentially. And so that way we can sort of think about if you guys articulate visions for things like energy access or equitable food access and things like that, then we can start to think about what that looks like in an implementation, I guess, from the implementation perspective for agencies and that sort of thing. So we're really looking for you guys to tell us some of your priorities. At the same time, I think what the task force is going to be doing is thinking about topics such as workforce development, which are kind of running across all the target sectors. So we're having a meeting in May that will be centered around workforce and hosted by the Department of Workforce Solutions. And I know we have Raquel with us here from DWS. So I can definitely, you can message if you have anything to add and I'll,
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, the other thing too is I think it is going to take some time for us to really, you know, I mean, it's the state plan. I'm glad we're chopping it up into sectors. And I think it's just going to take us time as individual council members to review each of these binders each month. We will get them out sooner, so there's more time. But I also just invite folks to, if you don't have thoughts on these particular sectors today, to sit with it. And also, I think we can revisit or simply accept comments in another format, like email.
Well, then I do have something more specific than about, I think it's one of the recommendations, and I think it's sustainable ag, and you had mentioned it, Kayla, of the launch a cannabis business office. I don't know. I guess I struggle with that as the first recommendation. EDD has for ag in general. I think their second one is much better, and then the stakeholders, you know, I'll do a +1 on all the stakeholder recommendations. My only concern about starting with cannabis is then also just thinking about where is the money going that, right, like the taxes, because there's obviously local stuff that happens, right? And this is really coming from a place to, we do a lot of work in Sunland Park, and their cannabis industry is like overflowing, and you guys haven't been down here. It's, you know, for a community of a little over 20,000 people, they have over 40 dispensaries.
Oh my God.
And you know, like 3 or 4 consumption lounges. And it's like, well, I don't really think they need it, to be honest, right? Like, just think about the people and like, what are the things that are needed in terms of business support that, you know, anyway, I don't know that cannabis needs any more support in that way, or at least that shouldn't be the first thing. That would be my feedback on that.
Well, that's perfect in terms of input. Like, and on the flip side, is there anything from the tour today or elsewhere that feels really important to you more than cannabis?
Well, food in general. That's what I was really just the stakeholder support. And in between Las Cruces and Sunland Park, again, that's where Empowerment Congress does a lot of our work. Those little communities really don't have a lot of support, just in terms of commercial opportunities to buy food, basically. And so if there's any way to think about how we can work with those communities, is, you know, I understand this idea, like, okay, let's bring businesses here, but can we do that incubator piece and work within communities so that they can then grow their own food and, you know, sustain themselves, because there just isn't there's those opportunities do not exist.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like the
Great.
irrigation systems from today,
Right, I know.
incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, what, $700? Like, we could
Yeah,
totally do something with that in community. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
so guys, today, for those who weren't able to join on the tour, James just brought up a great point that we were seeing some examples of extremely efficient irrigation systems that could cut down on water use for it sounded like for different sizes of farms. So those are the types of inputs that I would love from you. You know, if there are things you want to discuss with regards to community needs relating to food or agriculture or anything like that, right now the plan looks a certain way, but based on what you consider to be important, it can look a different way. So yeah, chime in with anything.
and in the interest of us ending on time, I'm gonna move us along, and what I'd like to do is just for council members to submit any feedback you have to Kayla and the team. And I think that using the prompts, the questions that you have would be good.
Exactly.
And we'll go on to the rest of the agenda. And do we have any reports from advisory council working groups?
So we have several members of advisory council working groups here on the call, so feel free to add anything that you might want to. But basically the update is that we had our first meeting of the tribal engagement working group, and our first meeting for the community engagement working group is scheduled for in a couple weeks from now. And I want to remind members that they can invite external participants to join them. So that's anyone from your organization or community or elsewhere that whose feedback you might want to capture in these working groups. This is an opportunity for members of the public to be brought in and engage more closely. And the outputs from those working groups will sort of inform how we are engaging with communities more broadly, and then specifically with tribal communities, but of course not in place of consultation as a formal process. And does anyone from the working groups have anything to add?
Great, all right, thanks for that. And we do have a section, oh, nope, I don't wanna, do you have any updates?
Yep, so send us your photos and bios if you haven't already, and those should actually be up today. So fingers crossed. We had some formatting problems on the websites, but I think it should be good.
Thank you, Kayla.
Yeah.
Great, we do have a section for public comment if we have any folks that are attending or here in the room.
And I know Rose Rushing had
Oh,
raised their
Rose,
hand.
yeah, if you're still there, Rose, go for it.
Hi, thank you so much. And apologies if y'all have already covered this. I was just curious if for the update of the strategic plan, y'all were considering an RFI, like for public input. That would be my only thought there. And thank you so much.
Are we?
You're unmuted now.
Oh, great, thanks, Rose. Yeah, are we?
Well, so earlier in the year, we had said that you're free to submit your inputs as members of the public. So maybe that's what you're referring to, and that remains the case. Looks like my connection is unstable. Yeah, so please feel free to be in touch with your inputs.
Great, all right, any other public comment out there? Great, thanks, then, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Daisy.
Yeah, motion to adjourn.
Great, second, anybody?
Second.
Excellent. All in favor, say aye. We are adjourned. Thank you all, and look forward to seeing you this coming month.
Thanks, everyone.